2 weeks removed from the season finale of WandaVision, we're already back here talking Season 1 episode, the season premiere, the series premiere, actually, of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier yesterday on Disney+. We're talking on Saturday. This is going up on Sunday or Monday. We got a lot to get into here with the New World Order episode of the show, and this actually came out one day removed from Synder Cut, which we actually just got done talking about before we started recording here. We'll probably save some small thoughts on that for last. I want to get your guys' 2 cents on it. I haven't finished watching it yet. You guys already watched it. You guys have a lot more to say on Tom's podcast later on in the week. But today we're talking Falcon and Winter Soldier, though. And it's cool that we're getting this continuous Marvel content in 2021. We just wrapped up WandaVision. We have this show. Loki was actually confirmed, I think, for mid-June a couple days ago. June 18th or something like that. So there is going to be a month and a half where we don't have any Marvel shows. And this one's only 6 episodes. So we'll get into it right now. Chris, welcome back to the show, my man. You're on the Twitter machine at BR_Doctor. You are the doc. What's going on, Chris?
Oh, not much. Happy there's more Marvel to talk about.
Exactly, and it feels like there is no shortage of content. I actually forgot to mention this, too, before we get started here. In addition to reviewing WandaVision with Phil just recently, obviously, breaking down every installment of the MCU, we actually just got finished talking about Howard the Duck last week with Katie and Rob Schamberger, which was definitely a fun time, and that was up a couple of days ago, about a week ago. So we got to do another sequel of one of those, whether it be another Howard the Duck podcast, because I feel like we only scratched the surface there.
That movie's insane.
And Phil, you are here as well. You're helping us break down Falcon and Winter Soldier the same way that we talked about WandaVision. This is going to be great. You're on the Twitter machine at PhilDL616. Phil, what's going on, my man?
I'm good.
So let's get into this, guys. It was only around a 50-minute episode. They had a bit of a longer episode than... I don't remember how long the initial episode for WandaVision was, but it felt like the 50 minutes flew by. Now, I will say right off the bat, my initial thoughts on it was that it was a good start to the show. I might be more positive towards this just because I'm also watching Synder Cut at the same time, and I thought this was far better. But at the same time, it didn't exactly get off to the most exciting start. I thought the opening scene was good. We had some good stuff throughout the episode, but we didn't get actually any interaction at all between Falcon and Winter Soldier, between Bucky and Sam throughout this entire episode. No Zemo. We did have the new Captain America introduced at the end, but that was really about it. I think this was more about character building, which is fine, a lot like the first episode of WandaVision. But what kind of more so surprised me was that there's only 6 episodes. So I was a little surprised they didn't immediately get into it. But Chris, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the initial episode of the show?
I enjoyed it. It was, it's definitely different from WandaVision. We're sort of back to this Marvel stuff that we know with the action and stuff like that, but I really enjoyed it. I especially liked what they did with both characters. You're right that it got off to a slower start than expected, considering there's only 6 episodes, but I do like that they actually let each character sort of breathe on their own for a bit before we see them back together. Like, we got to find out, what Bucky's sort of been up to in his time off and how he's dealing with things now. We see Sam and his family, and this show is probably going to get more than 1 season, so I'm not surprised that they're setting it up to have, more characters in the background, too.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point, and it did hit on a lot of good stuff, and if we do get more seasons, which I think is obviously more likely than WandaVision, I think that was a one and done, then the slower start might make more sense. But just as of right now, it was a little, not jarring, but I was a little surprised that we didn't get more than what we did, but it only leaves you more excited for next week. I think one of the big takeaways, like you said, we found out a bit more about Bucky's backstory. We see him going to therapy. We see Sam with his family, finding out that Tony Stark only paid him in goodwill. Like, what is that shit? And I know you shared the meme over the DMs a couple hours ago, which was funny. Well, we'll get into that. Phil, what about you, dude? What were your initial thoughts on Falcon Winter Soldier?
Well, first of all, I am a big crier, I guess, because I was sitting and crying when Cap gave Sam the shield in Endgame. So when the voiceover came over and he was looking at the shield in his house, I was immediately getting emotional, and I was just like, he's gonna give it up. And so all of that stuff was great. I thought the initial action sequence at the beginning was really, really good. I thought it was really inventive. I think it was good that it showed us how competent Falcon could be on his own, because we don't get to see that much. And I just think just watching a Marvel property tackle things like race in such an overt way was interesting as well, because we haven't really seen them do that much.
Yeah. Yeah, and they kind of got into that a little bit. Like I said, with like when they went to the bank to get a loan, they were denied, and the guy was like asking for an autograph or some shit, which I thought was funny. But no, I thought some of the stuff they tackled on this episode, including Ray's, like you said, Phil, I thought was definitely well done. I'm sure to only be kind of delved into a little bit more as we go further into the season. But I thought it was cool, too. You mentioned the opening scene. We'll talk about that a little bit. I thought this was a great way to reintroduce the George St. Pierre character from Winter Soldier. I thought he did a great job. I'm glad he didn't die, unless I missed something. He didn't die, right? He's still alive?
No.
Okay,
he's still alive.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I thought bringing him back was a smart call. I thought he was a great part of the Winter Soldier movie years ago, so I'm glad he's still around. But yeah, what about you, Chris? What were your opening thoughts on that opening scene and how it kind of kicked off the show? And like you said, it kind of went back to the Marvel way of doing things after we had such a different approach with WandaVision. But what were your thoughts on how well done that opening scene was?
I totally agree with Phil. Seeing how good Sam is just on his own was so refreshing, because he's basically been not a background character, but he's been backup in a lot of the other movies. And in Ant-Man, let's face it, he was comedic fodder for Ant-Man to have to get around. So to see him in this, like zipping through the air, taking guys out, throwing the one dude into the rock wall, there was so many good parts in this, just the whole sequence. And then obviously having Batroc back, that's who George St. Pierre is playing.
Okay.
That was an interesting little thing. And he actually, he wasn't ever really a match for Cap, but he gave Cap more of a fight than most people. So to see him be the only person who really got a couple of hits in on Falcon makes sense, because later on down the line, we'll probably get another showdown between these two, and Falcon will have somebody that's possibly a little bit of a better fighter than him that he'll have to overcome. Yeah. But yeah, the creativity with this was great. I especially love how he saved the dude at the end by just ripping right through the helicopter and grabbing him. All the missiles were following him, so the missiles just hit the helicopter. Yeah, it was very inventive. It was a fun scene, and it was a really good way to kind of get the energy up in the show after the slow opening of Falcon, ironing his shirt.
Yeah, no, I thought that was an interesting open, so it was definitely the contrast there I thought was well done. What were your thoughts on the introduction to the Flag Smashers? You guys are obviously way more knowledgeable about this stuff than I am. Chris, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts on the introduction to the Flag Smasher group?
I mean, I really don't know anything about the Flag Smashers from the comics, so this is all just completely new to me. I mean, I have no idea who the dude under the mask was that seems like he has some super serum in him.
Yeah.
I do know that the young guy Torres is a character from the comics. His name is Joaquin Torres, and I doubt they'll go the route that they went with him in the comics, because in the comics he kind of gets merged with a bird or something and actually has real wings and starts going by the Falcon name. But it seems like in this they'll sort of just have him serving as a protege to Sam.
Is he a police officer, or was he just there when the Flag Smasher incident happened?
I mean, it looks like he's military intelligence of some kind. He was working with Falcon on that first mission.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly what either of them, what their rank or capacity is with the military at this point. I think they're sort of just saying, like, Falcon gets sent in to do specific situations. Like, he talked about having government contracts, but he's also talking about possibly helping his sister with the business. So how much work is he really getting from the government? We don't know at this point.
No, exactly. That's a good point. But yeah, speaking of Torres, though, I thought he did a good job. I thought they did a good job with him of having him establish the motivations for the Flag Smashers. Because, I mean, you said you didn't even really know much about him coming into the show. I knew nothing about him aside from what I had seen in the promotional material. And them talking about how they were trying to, was it unify? It was something along those lines. The world during the blip. And they thought the world was better off during the blip when we only had half of the universe. So I thought establishing the motivations for the group right off the bat was well done. It erased any fear in my eyes that this would be like Retribution 2.0. Because when I saw the promos, I'm thinking, this gave me like terrible PTSD. And I say PTSD, but we're still going through it right now in WWE with Retribution. So I thought their debut, so to speak, was well done. What about you, Phil? Are you familiar at all with the Flag Smashers and what they're out to do?
There's been like a few different iterations of the Flag Smashers, so I'm not sure exactly what they're gonna do with them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of like a Captain America comic trope. There's always like some kind of anarchist group or like some kind of politically charged group that he ends up going up against, whether that be like the Flag Smashers, the Serpent Society, even in some ways. Like he always has like some kind of Splinter Cell group they have to go up against like that.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I thought that was interesting about them doing, bringing in Joaquin, is that Joaquin is obviously he becomes Falcon in the comic, like Chris said, but it was interesting watching somebody look up to Falcon and like be in awe of things that he can do in the same way that Sam was for Steve. That's such a different dynamic that we haven't seen Sam in.
Yeah, and it's interesting too with Bucky as well, because I thought Bucky and Sam were actually on they had a better relationship than they do, because I thought when they went to the therapy scene, and which I thought was great too, and I love the whole idea of him having to go through this list of like people that people he wronged. I couldn't exactly quite grasp what they were trying to do there, but he has like the list of people that he has to go out and like make amends with, and one of them was like the old guy whose son he killed, and obviously he doesn't know that yet, and we're going to find out more about that in the coming episodes. But what I was trying to get at was that during the therapy scene, the therapist takes his phone and says that Sam's been texting, but he hasn't been texting back. So he's kind of, it's interesting, and I like how the Torres character was kind of bigger than I thought he would be. I thought we would only see him for that first introduction scene, that would be it, but obviously he'll play a bigger role than that. But what are your thoughts, Phil, on the whole Bucky situation? Because obviously we know with Sam that he's trying to take, not him himself, but they're obviously preparing him for the next Captain America role, as he should be after what we saw in Endgame. That was an amazing scene, as you said earlier. That's kind of his character arc, it seems, that trajectory on the show. But what about Bucky, though? Where do you think we're going with him in terms of him making amends with all these people?
I thought all the Bucky stuff was really, really interesting. They did a better job here of showing just how difficult his life has been outside of the Winter Soldier stuff than any of the movies have.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, of course we get like the stuff like we know he didn't mean to kill Tony's parents, but we don't ever get the like remorse or see all of the stuff that he actually has to go through because there's no room to do that in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that stuff was interesting. I thought the stuff in the Strength's office was great. The way it's shot is great. Like the background with like all of the like forest it just looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the way that they frame the show, because the title of it is Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it almost makes it seem like they're partners, but
mm-hmm.
they're not really partners. They're kind of like if you would want to. If you put Steve as like a prodigal dad in this relationship, not really a prodigal dad, but he's like a brother to the two of them.
Yeah.
They're like siblings. They're not like partners. And I get the idea that their relationship is very contentious.
Yeah. No, I thought they did a great job. That's actually a great analogy, because that definitely makes sense kind of the more that you put it that way. What about you, Chris, in terms of their relationship and what they're doing with Bucky on the show?
I mean, they've always in the movies, they've sort of had a friendly rivalry, it's never been, we're best friends who are going to stick together until the end. They're giving each other shit all the time. So to see that Bucky is sort of closing himself off doesn't surprise me, because for one, we don't know what Cap's status is right now. I'm assuming he's just retired, living somewhere happily, not doing anything, but Bucky's sort of alone now. Like he doesn't really have anyone else from his old life before World War II. And so, like, I know they connected it with him having killed the son, but it almost made sense to me that he would seek out older people to be friends with, because he's 106 years old. He likes pinochle. Like,
yeah.
It is sort of funny how they're establishing that with him, but just the fact that they kept them completely apart in the first episode is just so surprising to me. But I have a feeling that this announcement of the new Captain America is maybe what will bring Bucky out in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll see.
We're definitely getting Falcon as the new Captain America, right? Because I still see dispute among people online saying that, it could always go to Bucky. We're definitely getting Falcon as Captain America, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
He's going to have the shield at some point, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always thought, because I had this debate with people after Endgame, that why didn't he just give the shield to Bucky? Like, why would he give it to Falcon?
Mm-hmm.
And my thing was, if he gave it to Bucky, then Steve didn't learn anything. The whole purpose of his whole story arc from Civil War up was that he put too much into his relationship with Bucky,
mm-hmm.
and he put Bucky first over Tony, when he should have just told Tony the truth. And so to give him the shield that Tony's dad invented would be a mistake. You can't do that. You can't. I mean, that would go against everything that he's established a relationship with Tony up. And even further than that, this episode basically tells you why Bucky cannot be Captain America. He has too much baggage. He has too much grief. He has too many other things going on that he can't just, be Captain America.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I'm glad you established that too, because that's exactly why, for both of those reasons, but specifically because he still has so much baggage that we didn't get to see in any of the other movies, like you said, Phil, so obviously that's what the shows are for, to kind of delve deeper into that stuff, but yeah, no, I'm glad they established that, but yeah, I still see, even after the episode came out, I had still seen people saying, what if it goes to Bucky? I'm like, that would completely neglect to go against the ending of Endgame and everything they set up at the beginning of this episode. That would make just no sense. So I don't think that's what they're going to do either. But we did get a Rhodey appearance during the Cap funeral at the beginning of the movie. I thought that was cool. Was he announced, guys, or was that a surprise to you too? I didn't know that.
I don't remember if they announced anything about it. I'm glad to see him show up, and I don't think he was using the robot legs anymore, so I think he's probably all healed up.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How long has it been at this point? It's 2023. That happened in 2016, so 8 years? Oh, wait, was he snapped away? No, he wasn't snapped away. So
they never defined the extent of the damage to his back and legs, so, it's Marvel. Enough time and he heals. Yeah, it was cool to see him, and I almost wonder if we'll see him again to maybe lead into his own Armor Wars show that's coming down the line, so maybe there will be a little bit of a setup for that at some point.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's coming out next year, or is that 2023? I don't remember, but I know it's down the pike, I think, right?
I honestly don't know.
They have so many shows, I don't know. What were you going to say, Phil?
I think it was great to add Rhodey, though. Like, if anybody would ask him why didn't he take the mantle, it would be Rhodey. Mm-hmm. Like, he would be the guy to pull him aside. Like, why? What's going on? And I've always liked that they've always kind of had, like, this, kindredship to each other. Like, like, there's the other brother. And so, like, in this episode, he was like, no, it's me. Like, why didn't you do it? And, I mean, even if you look back at Endgame, when Sam got snapped, the only person that was there that was like, Sam, where's Sam, was Rhodey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you could see in Civil War when Rhodey gets knocked down by Visions later, and it's because Sam ducked out of the way. You could see how he was just like, man, that sucks that happened. Like, he was not happy that Rhodey got hurt, even though they were on opposite sides.
Yeah.
But they're only two real modern military guys. Like, Cap and Bucky are both World War II antiques, and everybody else is either like an Asgardian or a billionaire. Like, they're actually in the military and doing things, which kind of puts them on a different level than the rest of these guys, because like, they're working within the system. They're not vigilantes. Like, Tony Stark is technically a vigilante. He's doing shit on his own. So like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, actually, I was going to ask a question related to that, but before I forget, we didn't see the body for Cap. Now, obviously, well, not even obviously, I don't know if this is knowledge or not, I'm just seeing this now, that it takes place 6 months after Endgame. So obviously, in between WandaVision and Far From Home, which I didn't know previously until I just seen that a couple of seconds ago. So that's when the show takes place. Do they know? They don't know that Cap still lives as an old man, right? This wasn't for old man Cap's funeral. This is just for Captain America. I was kind of confused by that. Can you guys shed some light on that?
Was there a funeral for old Cap at some point?
No, I think that he's just inactive. I think that that's what the status is. I don't think like civilians know what his status is. It's probably one of those things where, like, if you have clearance, you know where he is. Mm-hmm. But I think he's definitely earned, like, I'm done, guys. I've handed over the shield. I'm done.
Do they know that?
How Torres had that one. I love how Torres had the one thing. He's like, so people are talking online, and they think Cap is living in a secret base on the moon, which I almost wonder, it's like, did they throw that in as a little jab to the Inhumans show, which was about a group of people living in a secret base on the moon? or that Fury is in space in a secret base. That's true. I mean, who knows where Sword is based these days? I mean, they might not do the big satellite-based thing that they do in the comics. Maybe they'll just be in the moon.
Yeah.
It was funny that he specifically said, I think he said conspiracy theories too, online, which I thought was just perfect the way that he phrased that. Do you think that we could get a Cap appearance at the end of the show? Probably, I would assume it's Old Man Cap, obviously. Do you guys think that we might see Cap at some point of the show? Because we know that he's coming back for 2 more things, reportedly. And I think there's smoke to that fire. I don't know if it's the show or a movie or whatever. But Phil, I'll start with you. Do you think we see Cap in the show or no? Do you think it's not necessary?
I don't think we're going to see Cap for a while. I think they're going to save that cameo for something big.
What about you, Chris?
Yeah, if it's going to happen at all, it's not going to be for one of the Disney Plus shows, and I almost don't want it to be for this, because this is Falcon and Winter Soldier's show, and I'm kind of on the same thought process with this as I was with WandaVision. Like, I'm glad there was no big cameo, because that would have taken away from Wanda and Vision's story. Yeah. So I want this to focus on these 2 characters, and so far the show is doing a great job of that. Like, I feel like I know so much more about the Falcon character in the MCU now than I did from all the previous movies combined. Like, we know he's got a sister. We know he's got 2 nephews. We know his parents are gone. We know that the family has a business that's struggling. Like, all this different little character stuff that none of that was known before this. So it's really nice that they're kind of focusing in on their personal lives before we get into all the beat-em-up punchy stuff.
Yeah, that kind of made more sense. I was, again, a little surprised they never even interacted in this show at all, but we got to know a little more about them individually before we see them, like you said, the punching and kicking stuff with the 2 of them teaming up and whatnot. That one bank scene alone that we mentioned earlier, I thought was obviously gave us a lot of information. He mentioned government contracts. He said that Tony paid them in goodwill. He's had no income for 5 years, but obviously he knows there's a reason for that, and all this other stuff. So obviously they were denied the bank loan. Chris, I'll start with you. Can you kind of take me through that scene and everything that we found out about his relationship with the Avengers, how he's getting paid, how he's not getting paid, and all that other stuff?
Well, I mean, it seems like anything with the Avengers is sort of voluntary. Like, obviously, Tony gave him some badass equipment, because he mentioned how his little Red Wing bird was like Stark tech that the other guys, couldn't really figure out properly, and it was always buggy. So, like, it seemed like Tony was obviously financing the group, but these, like, Falcon has a life outside of the Avengers, so I mean, it doesn't surprise me that these guys aren't really getting paid. I mean, Steve even mentioned in Ultron that he couldn't afford an apartment in Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, Tony's a rich guy for a reason. He's not just giving out money. Like, he likes inventing stuff, but I doubt he was writing checks for everybody's personal expenses.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And, I mean, obviously he was able to make his way through somehow, and he doesn't give away all those secrets, nor should he here. But I thought that, again, the whole scene was really interesting and telling in terms of what that financial relationship is between him and Tony and the Avengers and everyone else. What were your thoughts on that scene, Phil?
I thought a lot of people kind of took the bait and ran with the smoke screen of him saying that Tony didn't pay him, and that's not the real story here. I think, like, to me, I think that there's two privileged people at play. Like, one, Tony is privileged, and of course he would be a financier for the Avengers, but he wouldn't stop to think, oh, you guys need money. He would, because he doesn't live in that world. He doesn't know what it's like to live check to check. Mm-hmm. So he wouldn't think anybody else would need that money. So, but then at the same time, you're looking at Falcon as a guy that is a government contractor, and he's looking at his sister like, well, why don't we just go to the bank? And she's looking like, yeah, I know you're an Avenger, but we're still black. Like, they're not going to give us money. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I thought the whole gist of this was not just that Tony's out of touch, but in some ways Sam is out of touch, because he's down to earth more than Tony is, but he's still privileged in another way. Yeah. And so he's looking at his sister like, no, this will be fine. We could just go to the bank. We can just do this. And she's like, no, I've been doing this for 5 years. We can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because it is a great point in terms of how, you think he's of the mindset like, okay, because I helped save the world and because I'm an Avenger, that we could just kind of, not that he doesn't deserve it because he does, but that we could just kind of get this bank loan and it should be easy. Because I think I missed the line, but didn't the guy initially, when they first walked in, he was like, oh, you're one of those superheroes, and he kind of struggled to remember his name, and he's like, oh yeah, you're Falcon. Wasn't that the exchange there, or was it something different?
Well, he was just trying to recognize him. He's like, did you play football for some university? And Falcon, like, put his arms up and did the little wing flap thing, and he's like, oh, you're Falcon.
But see, that is subtly race stuff. Like, of course he would go, okay, you're famous, but you're like a football player. The next thing he probably would have been like, are you a rapper?
That would have been a little too on the nose, yeah.
But that's exactly what it's like. Of course, you're famous, so you have to be like an athlete. And It was like, then he did like the hilarious, like he did like his flapping his wings. And he's like, oh yeah, you're Falcon. Yeah. And so even that part, it was like, he didn't immediately go, okay, you're an Avenger. And then even when he knew he was an Avenger, it was like, we still can't really help you though. But like, I don't think that conversation would be the same if they weren't black. And I think that was the whole purpose of that scene.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, totally. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, and also, like, they were talking about the family business struggling, and obviously when half the universe disappears, half your customers disappear. Mm-hmm. Now that half the universe is back, we're starting to also see some signs of how difficult it is for other people, other than people like Tony Stark, who, regular people are now being affected by all these people returning, and all of a sudden, like, they want their businesses back or their jobs back or all these things, and they're not going to be able to get it. So it's trickling down, and it's affecting all these other small businesses that have been trying to struggle for 5 years, and look what's happening. So it is a nice little detail for them to throw in, just that, like, Sam's a real person with a real life and a family, and for once we have a freaking superhero who doesn't have daddy issues. Like, their dad's dead, but they seem to have a great, like, memory of the guy. They talk positively about their family. Like, so many, I was thinking about that during Justice League. Like, every one of those characters has daddy issues.
Yeah, it's such a trope, I think, with some of these movies. So yeah, that's actually a great point, and I'm glad too that we got that scene afterward, after they walk out of the bank, between him and the sister, where the sister was like, "Listen, you haven't been here for 5 years, like you mentioned, Phil. You haven't been here for 5 years. You don't know what I've been going through, struggling on my own with the kids and stuff like that." So I think it's cool because.
Quick,
what'd you say?
Really quick, I wanted to, right after that bank scene, what were they doing with the boxes of food? Did I miss something? Were they, like, giving it to a shelter or something?
I thought they were delivering orders.
Was that what? Yeah, I was curious what that was too.
Yeah, I thought they were delivering orders.
So that's part of her business then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I couldn't tell what was going on with that, because, like, they had a small conversation in the kitchen, and at first I was like, are they bringing a bunch of food to the bankers? I was like, do they think that's going to get them the loan? Like, that's not the right tactic. Yeah. And then they have the food in the truck still after the bank. And I'm like, wait, where's this freaking food going? So, I don't know. That just confused me. And I watched the episode, like, I think 3 times now. Because I watched it once right away at, like, 2 a.m., and then I watched it again, like, later that day. And then I watched it this morning before this, just so it was, like, fresh in my mind. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it was so confusing to me. I had no idea what was going on with the food.
That would make sense, though. That explanation would make sense, because otherwise, I'm not sure why they would have it in their hands coming out of the bank. They probably should have established that or thrown in the line or something, because it was a little weird that they were walking out of the bank with the boxes of food in their hand. But yeah, no, I thought this was great.
No, they were still in the truck. They go from the bank to the truck and then grab the boxes of food, and I'm like, wait, what is happening right now? I didn't know what was going on, but it makes sense that it would be part of her thing. And I think he even made a thing about, like, you wanted to make plates on the weekend, like she wants to sell more food on the weekends or something.
Is that what she said?
Something like that. I don't know. I was a little lost in that.
Well, that would make sense, because now I was wondering that too, so at least we probably have an answer on that. Zemo, real quick, were you guys surprised that we didn't see Zemo at the end of this episode? I thought he might be at the very end or something. Obviously, we got with the Captain America thing instead, which we'll get to. But Phil, I'll start with you. Were you surprised not to see Zemo referenced or seen or whatever?
No, because I feel like Zemo's plan is going to be something we're not expecting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're saving, like, the reveal for what he's actually doing for later down the line.
Gotcha. What about you, Chris?
I mean, I was a little surprised, but the fact that we got Batroc in there, who I think might be working with Zemo, or at least another secondary villain throughout the season, was enough to suffice.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like this first episode, all it was doing was laying the groundwork of, like, this is what these characters are doing now that the Avengers aren't really needed at this moment. And then at the end with the whole, the reveal of the new Captain America, like, that scene with just watching Sam's reaction to that.
Yeah.
Like, he played that so well, Anthony Mackie, because, like, you could just see this. It was like a combined look of like rage and disappointment all at the same time.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can tell that he's disappointed that it's not him, but at the same time, he's really upset that it's anyone at all other than Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's why the bank stuff plays so well into the entire narrative of the episode, because in both scenes, he basically did what he was technically supposed to do, right? He took the shield to the government, thought they were going to do what they were supposed to do, and put it in Smithsonian and leave it alone. He thought, okay, well, we could just go and consolidate your loans and get a loan, and they'll just give us the money. And I think he's still going at this point going, oh, well, if you do the right thing, then this will work out for us. He's still in this... I think he knows that his race plays a part, but I think he's also in the world of, no, like, this is the right thing to do. And he was looking at the TV like, they played me. Like, they definitely did exactly what I told them not to do.
Yeah. And then the worst part is that it's just some random white guy, too. It's like, it's no one, like, of significance. It's just, like, this random white guy, which, again, plays in everything you just said, Phil, about the race thing and whatnot. And when he did the right thing, he gave up the shield. He's like, listen, I don't think anyone's going to fill this role. And they just give it to this random guy. So, I know we see... Go ahead, Chris.
Here's what I'm curious about. I want to know what you guys think. Will this new Captain America be another, like... You think they gave him a super soldier serum like they did to Blonsky and Hulk, or will he just be a figurehead like they were trying to use Cap in the original Captain America before he went rogue and went on a mission?
Honestly,
is he just going to be a mascot?
I do, because that's a great point, because as soon as you said that, that's the first thing that came into my mind, because the only thing I think we've seen of this new Captain America was from the trailer, obviously if people have seen it, when he's on the football field cheering with, like, the cheerleaders and shit like that, which gave me flashbacks to that first Captain America movie. So Yeah, which it's bizarre because when I had first seen the newscast, when they were like, oh, tragedy struck, blah, 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 we need a new face of America, I thought they were going to do something drastic. They're literally just putting someone in a Captain America costume with the guy's shield, and I don't think he has powers. So I don't understand why this would be such a game changer. And wouldn't more people be upset? Like, hey, no, that belongs to the real Captain America. I'm hoping that it's not just Falcon that's upset by this, for other than reasons that that he would be upset by it for. But that was just, I don't know. I guess we'll see. But no, I don't think he's going to have powers, to answer your question.
I think he's a plant. That's my theory. I think he's a plant. I think he's going to end up being a secondary bad guy in the show.
Really?
I definitely think that's why I said I'm not surprised we didn't see Zemo, because I wouldn't be surprised if Zemo is behind the Flag Smasher stuff in some way, or behind Cap, this new Cap.
They mentioned another group too, the SAL or the FAL or something like that early on.
Did they? Yeah. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Torres was talking about different groups when him and Falcon were sitting at that cafe, and it was right before the Flag Smashers thing that he was talking about. I think it was SAL. So I don't know. It seems like they're setting up a couple of different things, but that's a good theory that he could just be a total plant. Did the U.S. agent character have any kind of powers in the comics like Captain America, or was he just a regular dude?
Well, it depends on which character they're going with here, because if they're going with that 60s Cap that's in the comic, he has the serum. I'm trying to remember if U.S. agent has it. I think he does. I could be wrong.
I can't remember there. And then I also remember seeing rumors that Patriot might appear in this show.
Yeah, he's already been cast, I thought.
Did they confirm that? Okay. Do you know if it's anyone that we've seen before, like an actor that's recognizable?
Wait, which Patriot are you talking about? Are you talking about Eli Bradley, like the teenage Patriot, or like the sidekick Patriot?
Wait, I might not be thinking of Patriot. He's a young black kid who goes on, almost on a crime spree and then becomes a superhero.
Oh, yeah, you're talking about Eli then. You're talking about that Patriot. There's two different Patriots. Okay. There's the Patriot that's in...
I know there's a lot of characters.
There's the Patriot that's in, the Falcon comic that's recent, and then there's the Patriot that was in the original Young Avengers run. I'm not sure which one was cast, but I know that there was a teenager cast for the Patriot role.
Now, are Falcon's nephews anyone important in the comics? Or are those original creations for the show?
Not really. We see his family in the comics, but he doesn't have any nephews that play a part into anything. My wonder is because I believe that this Cap is a plant. I'm wondering if they're going to do any of the Captain America Truth stuff, where we find out there was the Tuskegee experiments, and there was a black Captain America before the original Captain America.
Oh, interesting.
And that's where the character Eli Bradley comes from. His grandfather had the super soldier serum, and so he inherited the mantle from him.
Interesting.
So I'm wondering, are we getting any of that? Because of course, the creators behind this thing are black, and I know that I've seen there are some influences from the Christopher Priest stuff. So I'm wondering, are they going to do that? But all of my theories about Cap, this new Cap, being a plant is just based off of this. Clearly has influences from Nick Spencer's run, and that's where the Cap Hail Hydra.
Oh, you think they're gonna not so much have Steve undercover Hydra, but have this guy actually be Hydra?
I think there's going to be something this guy is not who we think he is, and only in And because we haven't seen that much of him in the trailers, that even leads me more to that theory that there's something up with this guy, that he's not what we think. And they might be, position him to look like a mascot like you guys, but I could totally see him being a plant.
Yeah, I mean, especially since when you consider that when Falcon gave up the shield, and if they wanted a new Captain America, why wouldn't they have just asked him? Like, they were going for this guy. I mean, that could just go back to the mascot thing and the race thing too. But like, why wouldn't they have just asked Falcon if they wanted a new Captain America? Why did it have to be him? Aside from the fact that he's just this random white dude. So I mean, that might be a good point about him being a plant. So I guess we'll see. And the fact you're right that we haven't really seen a lot of him in the commercials, so that could be very telling. Was there anything else? Or sorry, go ahead, Chris.
You know what? No, I was thinking of apparently the newest Patriot, Rayshawn Lucas.
Yeah,
that's who I was thinking of.
Ah, okay, yeah. There's two
they
different.
Were going to go that route.
Yeah, I don't know. If they're going with the original like Young Avengers cast, I would think you have to go with Eli. I don't know. But that's just all my assumption that they are assembling the Young Avengers at this point. I'm just guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. They used the Jeffrey Mace version in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right. Cause that's what I thought too. Because I was like, when you say Patriot, there are like 4 different Patriots.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And apparently with like the Captain America mantle being jumped around so much, that's why people are speculating maybe it'll go to Bucky. But if it goes to anyone but Falcon, that would be a huge mistake. Like, even though this is called Falcon and Winter Soldier, it feels more like it's Falcon's show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Winter Soldier feels like the buddy and Falcon's the main guy to me.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think the whole purpose of this show is that he had trepidations about being Cap. And this is all his journey to accepting the mantle. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that does feel like that's what they're going to go with. But I'm glad they're giving Bucky something substantial, too. Like, that scene with him basically getting that one senator arrested that he had put in power because he was the Winter Soldier, like, that was hilarious to me.
Yeah, that was great, yeah.
He's, like, messing with her car, beats up her guy real quick, and then gives her the speech that the psychiatrist makes him give, and then just gives a big smile and walks away.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was hilarious.
Yeah. Honestly, this definitely does feel like more Falcon show, and for good reason, too. They really should have just called it. Maybe just would have given it too much away, but it really is Falcon with the Winter Soldier. It's not really, I mean, so far, based off Episode 1, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I like the fact that it's more of a Falcon show, but I think so far, so good, though. I thought this was a very good first episode.
Yeah, I did too. I thought there were a lot of things that I didn't expect. But again, you could tell that there are black voices behind this thing. Like, I was sitting there grinning when he was in New Orleans and he was talking to people. And it actually felt like he was talking to actual people. It didn't feel like here's this, here's this random guy. It was just like, this is just like, that's how people talk. Like, when he first walked up, guys,
like, when are you going to give me those wings?
Yeah, when you pay my sister $100, you are. Like, all of that felt like natural. That felt like natural dialogue, and I really enjoyed that. I mean, even at the beginning, him doing something as mundane as ironing his shirt, like, that's something that Falcon would do. You wouldn't see any other like character doing that, because this is like, I mean, like, we're thinking like Tony and those guys. Like, his clothes are laid out for him. Like, nobody's ironing his clothes.
Yeah, Falcon's a real guy, man. He's got to iron his own clothes, and he probably, as a military man, like, enjoys the routine of doing that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get into the habit of making your bed look pristine every morning, you carry that with you the rest of your life.
Yeah. That's a good point. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with it. And again, I thought it's off to a good start. I thought both guys did a great job, specifically Sam as / Falcon. So, I'm looking forward to seeing where they go with it from here. One last thing I do want to bring. Oh, actually, aside from the Synder Cut thoughts, real quick, I just want to get your quick 2 cents on that, guys. But did you guys see this Xbox commercial promoting the show that came out a couple days ago, or no?
No,
I've seen it a few times on YouTube. It's been before a bunch of videos.
It's essentially they're giving away the reveal of New Master 69. We know who New Master 69 from Endgame is now.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's like,
oh wait, what is it?
You know which one I'm talking about, or no? It's like Sam in like a friggin' GameStop or something like that, and he's just with some random dude, and they're like playing. I don't know what they're playing. I don't remember what they're playing, but they're playing some video game. It's just a commercial for Xbox, and
it's when Thor is playing, right, and he's getting bullied by the kid, and Thor yells at him.
Yeah, that's New Master 69 from Endgame. Yeah, but then in this commercial, at the very end of it, it's like a 30-second commercial. If you just type in Xbox Falcon Winter Soldier on YouTube, you'll find it. At the very end of it, the guy goes, after like the title screen promoting the show and whatever, he goes, yeah, my gamer tag is New Master 69. And then Sam just like gives him like this death stare, and the commercial ends. So they essentially revealed who New Master 69 was. After all this time, people thinking it was like Deadpool or something, but no, it's just this random worker at GameStop. So I was glad they tied up that loose end. What'd you say, Phil?
That's such an MCU thing. That's such an MCU troll.
It is, yeah. So I just wanted to point that out.
Remember those videos they made for the DVD releases with like Thor living in an apartment with some guy?
Yes. Those were hilarious.
What was that guy's name? Was it like, it wasn't Phil, but it was something simple like that.
But those little clips were funny.
I want that guy to come into play somewhere. Like, I want him to be canon.
Yeah. Did you guys notice? Like, I know it's a lot of small things they did with them. Like, did you guys notice when Bucky had that nightmare and he woke up that he was laying on the floor? He had like a pallet on the floor. He wasn't laying in bed.
Yeah, that's good.
And I was like, that's totally like him just being used to military stuff and not being used to living in an apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's a bit of a callback to the conversation that Steve had the first time he met with Falcon, where Falcon's like, it's your bed, isn't it? It's too soft. You feel like you're going to fall right down to the floor.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time that I've seen a movie do that, where they have a military character who's used to living in harsh conditions not sleep in a bed. Like, in the first episode of Arrow, they have Stephen Amell's character sleeping on the floor because he's used to sleeping in the freaking forest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So but I loved that was a callback to the first time Sam met Cap, and then we see it with Bucky too.
Yeah, and it could also be like a callback to the Wakanda stuff as well, because when he was doing the White Wolf stuff, wasn't he sleeping on the floor out there too?
Well, I don't know. The only time I remember them showing him was when Black Panther goes to give him the new arm.
Wasn't, because when they first reveal he's there, wasn't he in like a hut?
He was, yeah. But I thought they just showed him walking out of it. I don't know if they showed him sleeping. They might have, though.
Yeah, I didn't get the feeling that there was like a modern bed in that hut.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I loved the reference to Wakanda when he was in the therapy session. He's like, I had a little bit of calm in Wakanda.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was just back in the fight. It's like, man, just go back to Wakanda. It sounds like you up there.
Maybe that's the end of the series where he just finds himself back up in Wakanda. And that'd be pretty sweet culmination for his character.
That'd be pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways this can go. And again, we only have 6 episodes, so we're going to start seeing some stuff real soon. And again, I thought this was a solid introductory episode, but we only have 5 more weeks of this thing. And then I think it's 2 months off before Loki, because this ends in April and Loki starts in mid-June. So, and I don't know what's going on with Black Widow. That was supposed to be out in May, but there has been like literally zero update as far as that is concerned. So I have I'm going to bet that it's not. But I guess we'll find out soon enough.
My guess is if it was coming in May, we would have started to see them ramp up trailers again.
Yeah.
But, if it does come in May, at least that's something between this and Loki.
But do you think there's a chance? I mean, maybe they could always... I don't know, but do you think there's a chance that even if it was coming in May, that they're not heavily promoting it? Just 1, if the chance that it gets moved. Or 2, they just blew their entire budget with the promotion of this movie a year ago.
I mean, that could be it. They did put a lot of money into the marketing of this, but, it's tough to say. Like, this is one of the few movies where if they did that whole, like, premium access on Disney Plus, paid $20 or $30 for it,
mm-hmm.
I might consider it, just because the movie theaters near me are like shut down now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to drive 45 minutes to see a freaking movie.
I heard the Mulan thing was a mess, though. Do you think that turned him off on the idea of doing that?
Maybe, but that's Mulan. Nobody cares. Like they fucked themselves out of having the Chinese audience care because of the controversy with the filming locations, and like they essentially paid an area to film in, and that area funds like, you know, work camps and shit. Like they screwed themselves out of the international audience, and then they pissed off all the people who love the cartoon by being like, no, her pet dragon's not in it. And people are like, Eddie Murphy's not in it? Well, then I don't care. Like, and rightfully so, because most people, I think, really only liked Eddie Murphy's character. I mean, the story of Mulan in Chinese culture is interesting, but it's not like this movie was a faithful recreation of it.
Yeah, no, it was not well. I don't think anyone liked that movie, whether it be the American audience, the Chinese audience. Everyone had an issue with that movie. But I'm just talking purely from the paying $20-$30 for it standpoint. And I don't even know if that. I'm sure Disney Plus technology is up to date to the point where it wouldn't be a problem, but I don't know that for a fact.
If they did it for $15, just because a lot of major cities, like, that's basically the price of a movie anyway, I bet a lot of people would do it. But as soon as you release something on a streaming platform, it's going to be on a bunch of pirate sites too. So,
yeah. I think Marvel has been fighting tooth and nail to not get it exclusive on Disney Plus. I think they are trying their best to still put it in a theater. I don't know if that's going to work for them, but they are fighting it very hard.
They don't want to relent like Warner Brothers did and do the same days in theaters on HBO Max thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of that, real quickly, what were you guys' 2 cents on the Synder Cut? Chris, we'll start with you.
It's better than the original. That still doesn't make it good.
Would you, in a nutshell, would you recommend it or no?
I mean, it depends on who's asking me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if my grandmother asked me, no, don't waste your time. 4 hours, who knows how much of your life that is. Like,
that's a good point.
But if you're a fan of Zack Snyder's filmmaking style, you'll enjoy this. If you absolutely hated the first one, you might like this one better, but I don't think anyone should go into this expecting it to be 100% turnaround from the original. Like, it has a ton of problems, pacing being one of them, music choices being another, which we talked about a little bit before this. Like,
yeah,
I'm happy that Zack Snyder got a chance to finish what he started, and I'm happy that all his fans have something to rally behind, but I just think it's a dangerous precedent to set when you basically tell the fans, like, okay, you didn't like a movie, so let's just redo it until you do like it. Like,
yeah.
You know, you can recut an existing movie all you want and make as many director's cuts as you want, but you pour $70 million into remaking a movie because half the people who saw it complained, then it just creates a dangerous situation in the future where fans can revolt against something, and then studios might do this again. I hope not, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, too. And the thing is that I had seen people say, again, like you had said, it was an improvement over the original, which, again, isn't saying much because the first one I thought sucked from what I haven't seen it recently. But that's another problem, too, where I had people telling me you should probably watch the original before you watch this one. One, I'm already skeptical enough about wasting 4 hours to watch this movie that it wasn't overly excited with in the first place. The second thing is adding in another 2-hour movie to make it a 6-hour event. And I think you shouldn't have to watch the first one to see how much better this one is. Like, I would rather, like, it as a standalone movie, you should be able to watch it and just enjoy it for what it is. I haven't seen the first one in a while, so maybe that's why I didn't like it as much, this new one, just because I don't know exactly what they did differently. because they extended a scene by 10 seconds, that isn't going to make me care. I mean, they did that with some stuff, whether the backstories for certain characters was well done. I'm only 2 hours in. I've heard it gets better. But, like, having Aquaman, like we said before we went live here, walking down the pier for, like, 5 minutes to the music with the waves. If you take that scene out, nothing was lost. Literally nothing was accomplished. So that was my biggest problem with it. But what about you, Phil? What were your thoughts in the Snyder Cut in a nutshell?
I think it's enjoyable for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think your mileage of how much you enjoy it is how much you enjoy superhero properties and how much you like Zack Snyder's aesthetic. I don't think, with people acting like this is so much better. It is better in some ways, but it's largely the same movie. Like, a lot of the same problems that the original movie has are still here. And it just added like more pacing problems and made it more convoluted. And again, that's not to say that it's not enjoyable. It is. It's enjoyable for what it is, but man, there's still a lot of problems here, man. Yeah. And I don't think just slapping Zack Snyder's name on it and slapping another 2 or 3 hours on this thing all of a sudden makes it a masterpiece. I don't think that's true. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure, there are some Zack Snyder purists that will disagree with that, but again, that's why I say your enjoyment of it depends on, what side of the aisle you sit on. And, more power to people that love it. There were things about it that I quite enjoyed, but there were things about it that I also groaned a lot at. It just, I don't know, man. It's an interesting phenomenon. On some levels, it's fun to laugh at just how ludicrous it is. But yeah. I'm with Chris that it's kind of this dangerous precedent that we can sit here and say, okay, well, that movie wasn't good, and us as viewers can sit here and try and tell a studio or directors how we can make this movie better. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of things right now. I mean, even when we just reviewed WandaVision, you had so many people going, no, this is what should have happened, and this was my headcanon on what I wanted to happen. No, just watch the movie. We're not behind the curtain. We're not showrunners. We're not directors. We are the audience. Stay in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've gotten to a point where it's no longer you enjoy something or you don't. It's if you don't enjoy something, people feel like they're offended by that. It's like,
yeah.
Find the things you do enjoy and focus on those. It's like all entertainment doesn't have to be specifically for you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the three of us are wrestling guys, who we know also. This is a phenomenon that's also wrestling. People think they are in the industry. It's like, no, you are a part of the crowd. You're an audience member. You are not in the industry because you make content about wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, and that's the same thing with movies and TV shows. Just because you make content about these things doesn't mean you're in the industry. You are still an audience member.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a great point. Can't lose sight of that. So I'm glad we could talk about this every single week, guys, going forward. And I think the next 5 episodes are going to be good, and we'll see. And we'll see. I haven't finished watching the Snyder Cut. I will in the next couple of days, but this was already more enjoyable than that from what I've seen so far. So
I do have a theory.
Yeah, go ahead.
The new Captain America is Mephisto.
Oh God! Talk about precedents and setting a precedent for setting fan expectations. Now everyone's going to run with that as the new thing. Oh God!
Yeah, the real villain is Reed Richards.
Yeah.
Actually, you know who the Mephisto is going to be this season? It's going to be Zola. That's going to be the thing with people run with. Oh, Zola's going to show up. He'll be the end reveal. It's not going to happen. I don't think. Hey, you know what? Maybe it will. I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm not even going to put any stock into that.
Do you know about the deleted scene from Winter Soldier?
I don't think so. I don't know if we talked about this when we reviewed the movie a while ago.
So apparently, I don't know if they actually completely filmed it or if they just had a storyboard, an animatic or something,
Mm-hmm.
but there was a scene right after Natasha and Steve are talking to Zola down in the bunker, like in the computer form that he's in now.
Yeah.
Apparently, like right after it gets bombed, he was supposed to have downloaded his consciousness into a robot, and you just see the robot running away.
Oh my God.
So, like, are they going to make that canon? Did Zola escape in a robot? Because, like, that's something that happened in the comics. He sort of puts his mind in a robot body, so it wouldn't surprise me. But at the same point, we don't need that ridiculousness.
Nah.
There's enough interesting heroes and villains, and with a show like this, I'd almost prefer that most of them were just regular people, or maybe, you know, minor enhancements like the Winter Soldier with his arm or the Super Soldier serum. But, you know, we don't need robots in this.
I agree. We already have Zemo coming back. I don't think we need Zola as a robot coming back, even though that wasn't confirmed. Like you said, it was a deleted scene potentially, but I think the fact they got rid of it, I don't know if that confirms they didn't want to go forward with the character. But it might be canon. I mean, that would have been a funny scene to see. I thought you were going to say that it got downloaded on like a fucking flash drive or something like that, which I could also see happening, but I guess we'll see. You never know. But again, I don't want to... I won't even ask you guys, what's the big reveal going to be? Because I don't think there will be one. I don't think there needs to be one. Like we said earlier, I think making the show a lot like WandaVision with all about Wanda and Vision, making this all about Bucky and Sam, I think is perfect. So I think if people... Yeah. If we don't get our hopes up and we get a big moment like that, it's going to mean that much more, you know? And I think they also learned from WandaVision, and I haven't seen anything, maybe I've missed it, but I haven't seen Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie doing these promotional, you know, interviews and shit, talking about, there's this big Luke Skywalker moment and all this other shit. And I don't really...
I actually did see one thing. I think Sebastian Stan said in an interview, he's like, I get the feeling that people are going to be coming up with crazy theories like they did for WandaVision. Whether that's something that he thinks is warranted, I don't know. But,
yeah,
I mean, I feel like this show will do some kind of reveal, but it'll be about something related specifically to this show, not, you know, setting up the next villain for the Avengers.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Unless, you know, we're going to jump into theory mode, and Zemo is going to, at the end of this show, break Blonsky out of jail and create the Masters of Evil, and that's going to be the next big bad.
Oh, man. We're going to definitely see a lot of people jumping to conclusions, and I'm not going to say that I learned my lesson from WandaVision with that, because I always went into WandaVision hoping that what my theories were didn't pan out, because I wanted to be surprised. That's why I loved the ending of the show. Because it wasn't really any of the stuff that I predicted. Like, a few minor things happened, but, you know, we didn't get all the big reveals that everybody theorized, which made me happy. So with this show, I'm just along for the ride, and it's not a show based in magic mythology, so all the theorizing is just going to be based around, like, you know, do we think the new Captain America is actually good or bad, like we've been talking about? You know, it's going to be simpler stuff that'll allow us to focus more on why the show's good, not what we want the show to be.
Yeah.
I mean, they've laid enough stuff mystery-wise, and see, this isn't a show. It's pretty straightforward. It's not like it started with like, okay, what's actually going on here? Most of the stuff here is pretty straightforward and down to earth, so there's not much to theorize on.
Exactly.
I mean, you could theorize on like the Flag Smasher stuff. Who do you think the guy is that basically stomped out poor Torres? I mean, there's stuff there, but I mean, again, you know, theorizing is cool, but I think people have to realize, like, okay, if you have a theory, that doesn't mean you have to, you know, be married to that theory. You can be wrong.
Right. And people should be more willing to be wrong, because if we were able to predict everything that happened in these shows, they would be boring. Like, I don't want to be right.
Yeah, I think they usually do a good job of giving us things that we weren't expecting and weren't predicting. So I'm hoping we get that with this show. And again, just setting your expectations, not low, but like not expecting anything major, like a Mephisto or a Zola or whatever. I think will make the show more enjoyable for people. And at that point, if the cast doesn't hype it up, aside from what you had said about Sebastian Stan, which it doesn't really sound like he said, it's going to be like something major or whatever. Depends on how you interpret it. You know, I think at that point it really just falls on the fans, because it's not like Marvel saying this is going to be anything big. So, I don't know. I think so far so good, and I thought this episode did a great job of setting the tone for the rest of the season. So we'll talk about episode 2 next week. It should be great. Chris, people can follow you on the Twitter machine at @BR_Doctor, and Phil, you at PhilDL. 616. Phil, Chris, thanks, guys. I'll talk to you guys next week.
Thanks.